Kaboom! Welcome, Behind the Numbers. The podcast keeps you up to date with football and the hobby. This week, I'm really excited to have Mike Gio on the show from Sports Card Nonsense podcast. We're going to talk some football and some important hobby topics this week. Per usual, I'm going to update us on the big three pricing of wax and some singles out of Optic. We'll hit on the notable 2021 Hall of Fame inductees with Peyton Manning and Calvin Johnson. We'll also talk about 4 buy and sell choices, and we'll get to the kind of a little bit of market talk and just what to expect in the market for football in the coming future. Now, it's time for the show. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, Tyson?
Good. So just a little bit of backstory. Just basically, I have one of the weaknesses where I love to just go around different Facebook groups and watch breaks. And Mike's one guy that I definitely pop in and watch his breaks because he's really good at actually talking and entertaining during his breaks, where a lot of guys struggle with that aspects of breaks. But that's kind of how I got to know you. And then you obviously have your own podcast now, Sports Cards Nonsense. Anyway, how are you doing, buddy?
I'll be honest with you. I was not prepared for the beard. I just met you a second ago off studio.
Yeah.
That's a solid beard. See, I covered myself. I made fun of mustaches today with the caveat, if they have a beard, you're fine. So we're good. I was a little nervous when I saw you, but I think we're okay.
You think you're okay getting there? Yeah,
I think we're fine.
I'm in the spring break beard right now. I kind of haven't really trimmed up, so I probably didn't do my best to get pretty as we were chatting earlier. But it's a little overwhelming. But speaking of watching breaks, just thought I'd mention since it's a pretty crazy one, is last night I was just watching one, and in one box of 2019 Bowman, a jumbo, 3 autos. The 3 autos were a Wander base, a blue True Wander base, or True Blue Wander auto, and a Mauricio Refractor auto out of one box.
Sheesh. Someone made $5,000. Holy smokes.
Oh, man, it was incredible. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, anyway, so thanks for being on the show, man. It's been great to have you on here. Your show is awesome. I appreciate watching and listening to your show. You guys give a lot of good insight on there on the hobby and all over the place to your values. You guys are real strong in all aspects of sports. So you guys definitely check them out if you can. This show, we're proud members of Bench Clear Media. Check out this week. I'm going to have our top 20 MLB rookie report coming out for opening day. So check that out. Give it a look. I'm excited for that one. It's always fun to put those together and see where prices have gone in terms of our PSA 10 rookies that we like to chase. But yeah, let's just jump. Sorry, Mike, give me a little background on just like where you're from, just kind of a little bit about your path in the hobby a little bit before we get started, and just get the listeners a little perspective of who you are.
Yeah, sure. So I was born and raised in Boston, moved down to Nashville about 14 years ago. Met a girl here, married, haven't left. So, I've been full-time, did the breaking thing full-time for about 5 years, and sold it to my guy, Eddie Mancini. So he runs Geo Breaks day to day now. I still break like once every couple of weeks, just to goof around on there. Then the podcast thing I started in August after I sold the breaking company, or started, I guess, September. Messed around with that for a few minutes, and then got the call from Simmons, which was kind of, crazy for me. I'm a Boston guy anyways, and the ringer I grew up with. So, not grew up with, but for the last few years, it's been around. So that was kind of a crazy call to get, and then there we go. All of a sudden got signed up with them, and now we're throwing out a couple episodes a week until we get fired. So
definitely. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, Bill Simmons, obviously, he's a huge guy in sports. I'm a huge fan of his. He's got some great shows and perspectives and bounced around some really good places for his sports commentary. But that's awesome. Congrats for getting that going. You guys are doing a great job.
Appreciate it, man.
Perfect. So, we'll get to, I kind of want to talk about the big three with you and your perspective with football when it comes to Mosaic, Prism, and Optic and kind of how they fall. But just in terms of wax, I'm just going to update our listeners on the wax pricing. So I'm going to go down Mosaic, then Prism, then Optic. So right now, Mosaic cellos are going up to $48 per cello. That's up 20% from last time we updated. Hanger boxes, $70, up 15%. Blasters, $112, up 30%. Mega boxes, $190 to $220, up about 30%. No huddle boxes, kind of hard to gauge, not very many sales, but $525 to $735 were the 2 sales. And then hobby boxes kind of consistent, $865 to $800. Then we jump over to Prism. Prism cellos are $48 as well. They're also up 20%. Hanger boxes, $100, up 25%. $120 to $130 for blasters and Prism. The mega boxes have jumped up as well for Prism, $250, up 10%. Their no huddles, $855, about the same, and hobby box, $1,400, about the same. So kind of real, before we get to Optic, kind of interesting to see the retail keeps climbing and the hobbies are kind of staying still, which is kind of interesting for those two products. We figured Prism would catch Mosaic and pass it as the supply became more difficult, and that seems to be the case. Optic, $30 for their value packs. They're down 30%. $84 to $90 for the hanger boxes. They're up 30%. This is for Optic. Blaster 93.95 up 30%. 225 for the mega boxes and Optic, they're up 30%, and their hobby boxes about 1,000 to 1,100, they stayed the same as well. So you kind of start to see that because the big question we had on our show, Mike, is, where is Mosaic going to fall in terms of one of the main rookie cards? Because it's definitely got a lot of love. It definitely had a big following in terms of collectors, and it's established itself as one of the main rookie cards, I believe. And would it be at Optic's level, just below? And by looking at the wax prices, it does seem that Optic is maybe still trying to establish itself as that second rookie card for football. But what are your take on the three products there, or just those prices in general?
Yeah, so let me ask you, when's the last time you updated? I didn't get that. I got the sheet here. What are these prices based off of? When was the last update?
So I just updated these sales yesterday morning off of just kind of recently sold on eBay.
No, I just mean, so they're up 30% from.
Oh, gotcha. Up 3%. So that would be, the last show was about March 15th, about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. A couple weeks ago. Man, that's.
Yes.
In general, I'll say this. I'm surprised because a lot of other footballs come down. But those are kind of your three mainstays. To me, Prism's still king. People want to whine about it because they can't find it and it's expensive. There's a reason, Yeah. I like Mosaic way better than Optic, though. Optic is the one football product I have no interest in. I don't like the cards. I don't think they look that great. They're super tough to grade out, which is good for the pop. But I like Mosaic, honestly, for the price too, because at least if we see what we're seeing in basketball, where the singles are a quarter of the price, Mosaic to selling for 25% of what Prism does. I'm all in. I would buy 4 Mosaic gems before I would buy 1 Prism in a heartbeat. I love Mosaic. I just think it's a nice product.
I do too. I think the color and just the different variations that Mosaic came with to really kind of grab you was really got me all in as well. It's definitely I would definitely prefer it to Optic, and I think that for your bang for your buck, it's definitely probably a better buy. I think that you look at the different, like the pinks and the reactives and all those nice retail variations they have, I think they're pretty cool. Optic does have some nice, I like the blue scope. I like the purple shock that Optic has, but like you said, the centering is rough. It's tough to get centered on those borders. They kind of set themselves up for failure when it comes to centering. So I'm with you on that. I think I do prefer Mosaic, but it does look like right now in terms of value, and Optic's still kind of high because it's still relatively new. So I don't think it's settled, but I would like to see when, next year, when we get into the next rookie class, I'd like to see the PSA 10 across the board for Herbert and just kind of seeing where those that bar is in terms of value.
See, that's what I feel about Mosaic, actually, because this is the first year with Mosaic, so it was super high, right? Just a bunch of hype around it.
True.
So next year, does it come out down 30% from what we saw this year because it's not the first release of the product? Because you look at 2012 Prism basketball now, base PSA 10 cards. I've got a Kobe sitting there, it's like $600. It's a base card, but it's the first year of Prism, so people are crazy. I do wonder if we're seeing some of that, like, hey, it's the first year of Mosaic. Mosaic's going to be around, so I'm curious what Mosaic does next year. The product wax won't fall. Trevor Lawrence. It's that dude's going to carry everything in football. So.
Oh yeah, next year is going to be massive. We talked about on the last show. With this year, you have relatively 4 guys that are establishing themselves as NFL starters with Hurts, Burrow, Tua, and obviously Herbert. And then next year, there's 5 guys in the top 10 of the draft that's being projected. So we're looking at 9 new guys coming into the league. And if you have 5 first-round quarterbacks in a product, we know quarterback drives it. And then there's also some pretty dang good receivers. Like, it's going to be a monster product next year for football.
Yeah, and Trevor Lawrence is going to come out at least 2 times the value of Burrow. Burrow was the highest selling prospect ever in football anyways. And I think Lawrence is going to be at least double that, which is stupid to think about. So Prism, $30,000 a case.
Oh, it's gonna be insane. It's gonna break us.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's awesome. But I think I'm with you though. I think Mosaic's it's a good product, but I never really thought about that angle of being the first year product. I'm glad you pointed that out. That's something kind of I overlooked. I think just because I assumed to be kind of similar to basketball, and we'll see how basketball does its second run. But definitely, Mosaic I do like better than Optic though. Some Optic singles, just of note. These are just as eBay sold as of yesterday. Joe Burrow Green Velocity 125 raw. So these are all raw because Optic hasn't been graded yet. Jalen Hurts Blue Hyper 45. Herbert's just base card 75. Jonathan Taylor Optic Hollow 1650. Joe Burrow Optic Hollow 180. Tua Pink Optic 45. Justin Jefferson Purple Shock 60. Justin Herbert Pink Optic 125. Chase Claypool Red Mojo 36, and then Chase Young Optic Downtown, which is that case set, the super short print 385. I like to put Chase Young's in here because he's still getting value in the hobby. He is a monster.
Only defensive dude who sells.
Yeah, I mean,
yep, he's a stud.
Yeah, he is. Bosa was selling last year, and then obviously the injury, so he went way down. But Chase Young is kind of a different beast. He's just not human. I said before, he's a special talent. So I like seeing his prices being strong. Just looking that over, I mean, 75 for Herbert base is pretty respectable compared to Prism. It's a little bit tier below. I know running backs are hard to invest in, and a lot of the running back receiver stuff is kind of just short-term games, but Jonathan Taylor, man, 1650 for an optic hollow, and the guy can be a 2,000-yard rusher next year. I had him in my article I put out of top 10 buys, and he's going to be a monster. I really believe that.
2,000 yards here, really?
I think so. His last 5 games, he had 900 yards, and so he sat he had a slow start, got dinged up, missed a game because of COVID, and he was still 4th in the league in rushing. So I just think that the Colts are really going to rely on pretty heavily, especially they got Wentz there now. They have one of the better lines in the league is the big reason too. So I see a lot of things falling his way.
Right? I mean, you need the quarterback. I mean, Phillip Rivers made it pretty easy for him. I don't love Rivers all time, but he played pretty well last year. Opens things up because they also have who was their young receiver last year?
Michael Pittman.
Yeah, Pittman had a nice season too. Taylor obviously exploded. I mean, for $17, I don't know how you go wrong with that card. I mean, that just seems stupid cheap.
Right.
And I've just been telling our guys, hey, just play the raw game. It used to be everything was based on, how much it's going to cost to grade, time. I don't waste time grading a ton of stuff anymore unless I'm going a year out. Or if it's crazy high and I'm going to do the Super Express, $300-400. But like Taylor for $17, how is that not $30 or $40 after week 1 if he goes for $150 and a touchdown? I hate running backs, but that's pretty cheap.
I think you're right on there, and I think that a lot of us kind of got trained into this have to grade, have to send in, and that you can't.
Right.
Like Taylor could have a blown ACL by the time you get that back. There's no. I mean, I did that with Ohtani. I had a couple of Ohtani cards, and his market crashed, and it's come back, and I still don't have him back yet.
Yeah, the weight is rough. The weight is savage really right now.
Yeah,
I'd buy anything else Burrow too. Starting next month, that's all I'm doing. Month of May is just my month of Burrow. I'm buying everything I can find. So,
and that was as soon as he's not going to be, I think once we hear, which we anticipate to hear, that he's not going to be ready for the season, I think then you're going to have even a better shot at getting something. I'm with you there. I've been all on Burrow. I think he's cheaper than he should be. Just obviously injury is concerning. It's a major knee injury. He just, I don't like putting this type of thing on people, but he seems like the guy that can come back from it, and that he's got the talent that he'll be okay. He's got that arm talent. So definitely I'm with you on Burrow. Other things looking at that list, I really like the Justin Jefferson Purple Shock because it matches the colors. It's a cool looking card. Tua's cheap. Tua's pink optic is cheap. Well, we'll get to Tua and Burrow in a little bit, but the one thing I'll just say about that is Miami's lining everything up for him, long term and short term. So he is, with the trade and everything that we're going to get to, they're definitely making him have every opportunity to succeed, which guys like Darnold and other people have not had that opportunity. So I think it'd be interesting to see if he actually gets things clicking next year.
Yeah, I do wonder. I mean, so where's their? I know they did the draft last week. They did the 2 trades, and San Francisco's 3. So where's Miami now? 12?
6. So they dropped to 12, and they came back to 6. Pretty much guaranteeing that they're going to get one of those top receivers is a lot of the people's feeling. So Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith,
and stay with Tua.
So
yeah, I mean, he has moments of being good. Man, he has other moments. He looks like Tebow.
Yep.
Tua's had. So I like him. I think he's a good kid. I'll be interested to see if he's a 17-week starter. If this dude can play an entire season, I'll be curious. I'm on the fence. I was crazy high on his pricing. I loved it early. And then the more I saw it, it's like, man, when you're not blowing Ryan Fitzpatrick out of the water, that's who you look like, by the way. I signed on here, and I was like, dude, this dude just signed with Washington. I got Fitzmagic over here having me on the show.
Fitzmagic. I wish I went to Harvard, man. I wish I went to Harvard.
You didn't miss much. Harvard, bunch of stuck-up people. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I'll be curious. I mean, if Tua comes back and plays like you're saying, I mean, the fact that he's selling cheaper than Hurts across the board pretty much now. Yeah. Although I like Jalen, and Jalen's another guy who had some bad games. I just like the dude. When a team comes out and literally just unanimously says, what was the biggest change? Leadership. Kid's like 22, and leadership was a strong point. I don't know why. He may not be the most talented. I do like Jalen, though.
Yeah. Well, 2 things I'll say is the one thing I'm going to give Tua is I was hard on Tua all season. I thought he didn't look like he had the arm strength. He did not look like he was zipping the ball like Burrow or Herbert was at all. but he still was less than a year removed from the hip injury. And I really thought this was going to be a redshirt year for Tua. So it's a matter of like, will second year, will he have it all together? Will he be completely healthy? Was he completely healthy? I think, yeah, jury's still out, but I'm interested to see where that's at. But he's at the point right now where the risk is low. Like you said, he's cheaper than Hurts right now. So he doesn't have a lot of risk, and he's on a team that's building to win now. So there could be some quick gains there. Hurts, I've been off of him for a while. They've established him as the guy. They've traded down the draft. They're doing the same thing. They're kind of putting all their cards on the table with him. I'm just worried about his passing ability. Yeah, I think he can run. I think
he's not a great passer.
Yeah, yep. I mean, how long of a career can he have? Because I'm kind of low on Lamar for the same reasons. But we can get to that stuff. We're kind of jumping into it, but it's football flows. It's easy to go. So real quick, let's just jump to the Hall of Fame class for 2021. Because a lot of times they get more exposure and their cards take little jumps. And two pretty big ones. I mean, one quarterback, one receiver. But Peyton Manning, first ballot Hall of Famer. We're going to have him on our buy-sell with another future Hall of Famer. But what are your thoughts on Peyton Manning's cards right now? They seem relatively cheap compared to other PSA 10 rookies. His tops I have at 1551, and the pops 392 on it for PSA 10 Peyton Manning rookie, which I think's, compared to some of the guys that are playing right now, it's pretty cheap. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a population of 392 is crazy low. I mean, for anything. All time, just legacy wise, I think he's great. I mean, probably a top 5 guy. The only issue I have is the one comparison I started seeing and it kind of seemed, we don't do this with basketball as much. Like basketball, MJ, there's the 86 rookie. But I never hear people like, well, the Bird rookie's only doing this in comparison to MJ, because we know MJ is the guy. No one's on that level. So we find other comparisons, LeBron to Kobe, which I'm fine in terms of card value. The thing that's weird about Peyton is as soon as this came up, I was on a show recently too, and it was like, but look what Brady's selling for compared to him. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. Look what Brady's selling for compared to my soccer card from the 3rd grade. Like, what do we – I struggle with that because, like, what are we talking about? Like, Brady stuff is – we're not dealing with the same type of a thing. So I think there's room for growth. At the same time, I'm pretty sure that Topps card you're talking about was selling for like $400 when COVID started. Right. So that's the stuff I start to question too. Football, we're seeing a huge move in the market. We've never seen stuff sell like in football like it has before. Baseball's always been strong. Basketball, international market, super strong. We're finally starting to see it with football. But I do wonder, like a card like that is almost 4x what it was a year ago. What's the ceiling? So I like it. I think it's a low pop. How much more room for growth? I think he'll get a bump for sure with the Hall of Fame. Is that 10 or 20%, or is it, hey, people start to realize this guy's, there's this nostalgia around him too when it goes to $3,000? I think it's a conservative play because I don't think you're going to lose money, but I don't think that's one of those where I'm jumping in saying, hey, I'm going to double my money with Manning.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think I would never. We can't compare to Brady. I think he's with the Super Bowl win last year. He's basically untouchable as a quarterback of all time. So there's no reason to ever compare to Brady. But then when you look at Justin Herbert's PSA 10 Prism is almost $1,000, and then you have Peyton Manning's 1,500 with a lower pop and a better career. I know it's a Topps card. We can do all types of little comparisons, but that's kind of more my gauge when I look at those type of things. But when it comes to like Peyton Manning, I do think that he might come back into the picture in terms of whether
coaching or something.
Coaching, announcing. He'll be prevalent somewhere because he just has that kind of personality with all of his Saturday Night Live and the different things he does. He's very charismatic.
The forehead. He's got the forehead.
He's got the forehead. Yep, for sure.
Sure.
So I think we'll see him again. But
so it's comparable to basketball, right? I mean, it's the same thing there. It's like, how is Zion selling for more than Tracy McGrady?
Yes.
And so we saw the 90s guys and the 80s guys explode. I just think the market is more indicative now of, okay, people are going to realize that, no, Herbert should not sell that close to Peyton, not in his second year. So Herbert's going to come down in value. I don't think it necessarily means – but I don't think Peyton's going to lose. But that's the same thing. I think 3 years from now, Zion and Luka with pop counts that are, 25 times higher than this are going to come down. And a Patrick Ewing, who's a top 10 center of all time, is going to outsell Zion until we see what Zion is. So I think there'll be a correction there. I just don't know that it's the older guys going through the roof more than they already have.
Well,
I hate Peyton Manning, so just biased. I don't know.
That's fair.
I'm a New England guy. Like, I just don't like him. So.
Yeah, being Boston, totally understandable. I get it. I think that's spot on. I do, and I think also too right now in terms of the collectors and everybody that's coming into the hobby, they're not really paying attention to that stuff. They're paying attention to the guys performing now. All these jumps and stuff is coming with the now stuff, and so I think that's why a lot of I don't want to say smart collectors, but I'm going to are buying older stuff, are buying vintage, are buying the things that are behind because people haven't really caught up to those values. I think there's a lot of value there for sure.
See, and I actually go super old school. Like the thing we talked about today, my pickup this week, it wasn't a massive like money card, but I picked up a Unitas PSA 6 for $1,600. It's the same price you're talking at the tops. It's like a 1957 top 3 position guy in baseball with a rookie that sells anywhere near that. It's like 10 times the value because baseball's crazy high on vintage. Right. I think football vintage is great, and even like this modern type vintage like Manning, I get to safe play and you can make money with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll get a little bit more of the market talk at the end here, but let's talk about.
I know this agenda, man. It's throwing me off. I'm used to just going off the cusp. I'm trying to.
Yeah, you guys flow. Sorry, don't be boxed in. Don't be boxed in.
I'm boxing in. I'm trying to.
I'm a math teacher, buddy. I'm very black and white. I apologize.
I'm surprised we get along at all, quite frankly.
I mean, the Boston thing's already against us. I know, tough.
Here's your math. I got a calculator the size of my torso right here. Bam. I keep that right on the desk, buddy.
There you go. Punch.
You got it.
Calvin Johnson, though. Calvin Johnson, I mean, the only thing we can complain about Calvin Johnson, he didn't play long enough. I mean, but
he was stuck in that worthless city.
Oh. I know, and then he was in Detroit, and that's probably why he did pull away early. But I mean, as a football fan, a person who watched football, I can say he was the most dominant receiver I've seen.
How old are you, Tyson?
I mean, besides Jerry Rice. I mean, but let's talk about like physically dominant.
How old are you, Tyson? Hang on.
I'm 36.
You're 30. First of all, babyface. You look great for your age. Good for you. Holy smokes. I feel old now. You remember Randy then?
Randy, yeah.
You're saying he's more dominant than Randy?
Randy had that spell with the Raiders that was sour. Like, he turned it back on with the Patriots. I'll give you that. And Randy was dominant. Randy had more speed, but in terms of I think Calvin he's pretty up there. I'll give you Randy. I can give you the nod of Randy. That's for sure.
I would actually be okay if you told me he was more dominant than Jerry. I never thought Jerry was dominant. Unbelievable stats. Jerry but playing with the best quarterback. Sure. Yes, you start going all time. But yeah, dominance. Aside from Randy, though, Calvin's there. I mean, in the red zone, I'm not sure who else I'll take Randy first, but I don't know who else. You could certainly argue Calvin, too. I mean, he was, physically. I don't like to admit that either. I'm 5'7". I don't want to give these people props. Guy's like 6'5".
No,
good for him.
Yeah. I mean,
he was great. He was great.
You know, I feel like I've seen a handful of times with both of these guys. I mean, you're right. Randy's right there with Calvin, and Randy was faster, but Calvin just 3 guys on him, Drape still coming down with it. Like every time, like triple teaming him, Stafford literally just throws the ball up like 500, and he just comes down with it. Wasn't any place to it. I feel like Randy was just pure speed and just. I mean, Tom really got going with him when he came to New England. It was sidelines all day with Randy Moss's speed. So definitely, I think those two are right there for sure in Trip Thomas. But in terms of Calvin Johnson's cards, though, like PSA 9 Topps Chrome, 245, Pops 122. The PSA 10, there's only 210 of them. So there's only 300 9s and 10s ish. So like, what are your thoughts on like Calvin? Is it going to be kind of hard for him to have any growth just because Detroit, like
it's tough. Like legacy now. Like you asked me the best receivers of all time. Like again, I kind of go Randy, T.O., Jerry Rice, obviously. But then now we've got these guys who are, and I just don't know what Calvin did that we're not going to see eclipsed, right? This is stats game now. Everything's passing. Stafford's going to be the number one yardage wise. He's going to be that's what makes me sad about the NFL now. In 5 or 7 or 8 years, whatever it is, Stafford is going to be the all-time leading passer in the NFL, which is horrendous. It just means you don't allow people to play defense, I guess, because the fact that guy has a record, is going to have a record, is laughable.
Or
but that's what I wonder. I just wonder, like, what's Calvin's legacy? Like, his legacy to me is he left early. Like, Barry left early, but after he was already minted and established. Because, like, the same, like some of his peers even, I mean, is he better than Larry Fitzgerald all time? Tough. I mean, Larry, dominant. And numbers-wise, unbelievable. Yeah. Even Andre Johnson, year to year, almost identical with Calvin. So I just want, and it's a receiver. Yeah. You know, where I think the NFL market is finally accepting running backs. I think receivers are probably next. But, you know, I don't know. To me, honestly, that's a guy, if I had him now and I noticed his prices bumped at all for the Hall of Fame, I would sell him. I think the week of the Hall of Fame induction, you're never going to see his prices higher than they are right then.
Yeah. The one thing I'd say about him, generally, I was actually surprised that he made the Hall of Fame so fast. I thought they'd take him a little bit longer to get him in just because he quit early.
And T.O.'s not in.
Right.
How does that? I mean, because numbers wise,
right.
I don't like T.O. I think he was a punk. But yeah. I mean, it's not even a comparison. And he had postseason success. I mean,
yeah.
How you put Calvin in before T.O. to me is a weird, you know. But that's the NFL. I do like that the NFL Hall of Fame is super selective and tough to get into. But then stuff like that happens, and I'm like, okay. I know Calvin was a nicer guy, but I don't know if he needs to get the jacket first.
Yeah, and then to your point on Fitzgerald, I think Fitzgerald's another level just for longevity, like just consistency. Like also in the eye of like fans, like he is stand-up guy.
Yeah, does everything. Community guy. Dude, he blocks. I mean, like he blocks like Hines Ward. He catches like Randy. I mean, if he wasn't wasting away in Arizona, again, he had some good years he's had great individual years, but if that dude was ever on a legit year in, year out contender, he's the Jerry Rice comparison to me. But
I think so too. All right, let's jump in just to like the takeaways of the week here. Just kind of takeaway of the last 2 weeks, just a couple different things. The big one is the 2 draft pick trades we kind of touched on a little bit. So San Fran gave pick 12, a 2021 third, and then 2 future first round picks for pick 3. So San Fran going all in to get a quarterback. I mean, the team is built to win. They are struggling at the quarterback position with Jimmy G having a tough time being healthy. I'm not sure. Jimmy G is a very interesting conversation in itself. But what are your thoughts on San Fran giving up the farm to go get the quarterback? And the thing that worries me about it before you say something, Mike, is you're giving up that much to get what the league thinks the third best guy in the draft is. You're getting the third best quarterback, so I think that's a little bit something to think about as well, because you better be sure that he's the guy for you, I guess is the point.
So who's just, again, I don't do a ton with draft. Field, number 3, is that kind of the consensus, or is it with the Dakota kid too?
So right now it's him and Lance are kind of the top. Like people aren't sure if it's Fields or Lance are coming for. A lot of people are pretty sure now the Jets are going Zach Wilson. So does Darnold get moved? So we'll see what happens there. But it does seem to be right now there's Lawrence obviously 1, Wilson 2, and then it's Trey Lance or Fields for 3. Some people are saying maybe Mac Jones, but I don't know. That might be a little bit of reach. So
yeah, I mean, here's my thing. If you think you got your quarterback, you go for it. I mean, the only thing consistent about Super Bowl winners over the last 25 years is you have a quarterback that plays elite. Even Flacco, not an elite quarterback, but had an elite stretch. Manning twice did it. Eli, not his choke artist brother. If you think you got your guy, I mean, I don't know. The only trouble there is, man, Jimmy makes a lot of money to move, and they got to move him before next year because of the cap hit if they don't. So I do start to struggle with that. Like, man, at some point you got to move this dude. But I have no problem. I mean, honestly, to me in football, go all in for your quarterback. That's what you got to do. Like that's the name of the game in the NFL.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying your margin of error is smaller being the third guy. He better be good.
Sure.
So
my other thing is somebody else brought this up too. There's a college show in the Ringer that is just all college. I don't know enough about it. I would say this. It seems like any other year these guys would not be 3. It seems like this just happened to be the year where, hey, we've got an elite level of talent. Yeah. So it's like you're getting a number 1 pick at the 3 spot this year because you have Lawrence and Zach ahead of them. So to me, go if you think you got your guy, you go nuts.
Yep. That's fair. So I put Miami back to 12, and then Miami, like within hours later, they traded with the Eagles back up to 6. They gave up 12 and a 2022 first to the Eagles for pick 6. Kind of, I think the Eagles moving down and getting future picks is fine. They're kind of in a semi-rebuild, but not completely. But that does put them out of that realm of getting a top receiver or Pitts or a top tight end, which they could have used. So I thought that was interesting. But like I told you to start the show, like Dolphins looks like they're in that position to still get Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith at 6, which I think is big for them and Tua. So I think it's a really good 2 trades for the Dolphins. They still picked up basically, to me, the guy they probably would have took at 3, they're going to get at 6, and they picked up a first. Is pretty much the summary. So I mean, why not? Yeah,
easy trade. Tyson for Tua. That's what I say.
Yeah, there you go.
That's my contribution to that one.
There we go. So this is kind of my question around Lamar. Lamar Jackson, I've been pretty critical of him on the show over the past year. His passing ability just continues to worry me. And I just said receivers dodging Baltimore. It seemed that Juju Smith, Hilton, Galladay all had offers from Baltimore that they said no thanks, and they took less money to go elsewhere. Obviously, Juju went back to Pitt, which that's fine. Rivalry. He's not going to go play for Baltimore. But Hilton took less, and then Galladay went to the Giants instead.
Where did Hilton end up?
Hilton stayed in Indy.
Oh, he stayed in Indy. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on Lamar as a quarterback? I haven't had you on the show, and just his long term. Like, what are your feels for him and its card prices?
Yeah, here's what's tough about Lamar. I'm not saying he's an elite passer, but it is interesting. Like his next gen, whatever stats they call that from the pocket, not as bad as it looks. You know, the eye test is weird with him because at times it looks like he's lost. I mean, against Buffalo, he looked horrendous. Against Kansas City, you know, the game against Tennessee though looked pretty good. And the other thing I struggle with, the dude has won. I think he was unanimous. If he was close to unanimous the year he won the MVP, made the playoffs 2 years in a row. Now has a playoff win. He's like 23, 24.
Right.
I just feel like if anybody else was doing that, we'd be cool with it. But with Lamar, it's like he's the one guy I feel like gets a ton of hate. And I'm not sitting here saying he's any. I don't compare anybody to Mahomes. There's no one in the league that's close.
No.
But like after Mahomes, like is Lamar? I just want like what is all the criticism? What are the young guys doing? Anything near what he's doing? And his weapons are not that great. Who's he throwing to? Hollywood Brown's a cute receiver at times. That offensive line is horrendous. Quite frankly, if the math teacher thing doesn't work out, Tyson, you could probably go start a guard for Baltimore. Like that's how pathetic that line is.
Yeah,
and he won a playoff game. Yeah, so I'm just like I don't know. For a guy who's won an MVP, been to the playoffs twice, you know, I mean, I just think he gets a little too much hate. I don't love the running quarterback. I've never seen a running quarterback win a Super Bowl, but. You know, that's probably going to change at some point in the future. So,
yeah, I'm just terrified.
You are not a Lamar guy. I can tell by the look on your face. The beard is down.
Two things. I actually, Lamar came out like I was super big fan of him. I thought like he had a lot of talent. I thought there was tons of ability there. And I think he's a phenomenal football player. I just don't think he's a phenomenal quarterback. I think that he runs well.
Fair.
He gets wins. He does a lot of things. And I'm just worried, how long is the running going to be there? Is he going to be able to run for 10 years? If he can run for 10 years, then I'm wrong. He will be a very successful quarterback because he is one of the best running quarterbacks we've ever seen. But like you used to point out whether young quarterbacks are doing stuff, I think Josh Allen's a better passer than he is. And I think Josh Allen is running very effectively. So like I look at a guy like Josh Allen who's priced cheaper and is on a team that's maybe in a little bit better trajectory.
Oh, no question. Yeah,
that
Buffalo.
That makes more sense. But I just think Lamar's biggest thing is I just want him on, when he gets into those third and longs, I just want him to see him move the chains a little bit more. I just think that he has a really tough time. If they have a running team, they got him and Dobbins next year. I think they're both going to put some good numbers. They don't have the receivers, you're right, but I do think that if he can start getting that ability to convert on third and long, I think he'll be in good shape. Until then, I will be concerned with him as a passer.
Yeah, Allen's an interesting. Even Allen, like people had a great year this year, right? Year before, that playoff game against Houston was horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, choked big time. Yeah,
Josh Allen's another guy. He's had a great season. Lamar's had a great season. Lamar followed up an unbelievable season with this year a pretty good year where he got a playoff win. You know, Buffalo won the same amount of playoff games that Baltimore won this year. Buffalo has a much better team. No question. I mean, you put Stephon Diggs with Lamar Jackson. Not a great passer, no question.
Right.
That's a weird combo, though. So I do, even that, ask anybody right now, who would you rather start a team around? I feel like 9.8 guys are taking Josh Allen over Lamar. I just wonder, what has Allen done career resume-wise? Not even close. Lamar,
I think Allen was, just all last year, just his progression.
Sure.
Like his first year, oh man, he looks rough. Second year, not great. Third year, okay, this guy looks pretty dang good. And I think just the progression.
Top 5 guy this year.
I think Lamar's kind of gone. Yeah, Lamar's kind of going opposite. Like first year, Lamar was like, wow. Second year, MVP. Last year, okay, iffy. Like last year, right? But I think you're right though. I think that Josh Allen and Lamar are still close. I do think it's interesting that Lamar's still a good chunk ahead of him in terms of value, though.
Value, yeah. That 1 year, you have a year like he has. And you got to remember too, we were 1 year off of the Mahomes thing, where we all of a sudden saw a guy hitting Grail level pricing because he was unbelievable. So it was like, well, who's next? Oh, Lamar's going to be next. Let me get in early. Yeah. And Lamar, I mean, his Prism stuff was thousands of dollars for base PSA 10s. It's come way down. I think it's down about half from what it was.
Yeah, it's like 800-ish, 900-ish.
Oh, yeah. So you're talking even less than half.
Yeah, he's like 900.
So he's about on par with Allen there. Allen's doing what, 800-ish for a PSA 10?
Right.
Yeah, but it does show you how high Lamar was, because based off last year, those guys shouldn't be close. No question.
Correct. And then we throw in that caveat that in Herbert's like almost 1,000. So, but it's early. The Prism's still really early.
Herbert's a weirdo. That team's creepy, man.
Yeah, not a lot of pop there. So you said, talking about Houston, though, what's Watson's outlook, Mike? I mean, this is a very
this is the only thing. I got to tell you, this is the only thing I'm super boring on. company-wide, we're not really talking about I should have told you. Yeah, I'm not really. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I'm also a new employee, so I'm super safe. I don't know. He's a talented quarterback. A lot of bad allegations. I don't know. That's a total bullcrap cop-out answer for you. I'm sorry.
No, that's fair. It's all allegations. It's just getting weird, and I hope that it gets better because he is fun to watch as a player. He's a really good player. I was excited about the opportunities of him to go somewhere else. If he got traded somewhere, I thought there's a big opportunity for him. But things are definitely getting weird there for sure. And just tread lightly with his cards is pretty much all you can say.
Yeah, I mean, just my blanket statement, like unbelievable talent. Guys say last year was one of the best seasons in the last 10 years in football, which is amazing. I didn't pay any attention because they were losing, but these stat geeks are like, it was unbelievable with the support he had. Yeah. If he goes to a contender and these allegations are gone, he's, I mean, in the running for MVP the next 5-10 years, and he's a Super Bowl contender on most teams. If the allegations are true, as harsh a penalty as you can give anybody, I'm fine with. So
yeah, that's life. Yep. NFL adding one more regular season game to 17. What are your thoughts on that? I didn't think that was going to get done. I thought this season was going to be pretty locked in because of the players and the health and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a little surprised to hear that they're going with 17. What do you think?
Yeah, I hate it. I don't know. I just like things to stay the same. Well, we don't need an extra game. I mean, what are we doing here? Enough guys get hurt. Playoffs are already watered down. There's talk about keeping it to the 8. Like, I don't know. At some point, like, enough's enough. Just leave it what it was. But I also heard that this is the longest stretch they've gone without expanding the seasons, a game to the regular season. There was a stretch there in the 60s and 70s. They were adding 2 games from 10 to 12, 12 to 14, 14 to 16. So I guess it was inevitable. But to me, it doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I kind of don't like it either. I think that one of the best parts about football is the importance of every week, and every time you add a game, then you're lessening that. And I think that adding extra playoff teams, like I don't mind, how baseball kind of add that little extra 1 game wild card. That's not as big of a deal, but when you're doing like 1 game for football, that's a big deal. And so I do think that kind of expanding playoffs, expanding regular season games, I am not a fan. I think the regular season should speak for itself, and we should go with the way it's been. But I'm like you, a little more traditional on that.
Yeah, the only thing I wish they would change is the seeding. I just want to see them do conference seeding like the NBA does. I don't care about division winners. I mean, if your division's crap, I don't think you should have a bye week.
Yeah, like NFC East, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not a bye week, a home game. I'm sorry. Who are the best teams? Yeah, just seed them by team. But
I agree with that for sure. Just a quick little power rankings just off of ESPN, just because something to chat about. After the free agent signings, they had KC 1, Tampa 2, Green Bay 3, Buffalo 4, Baltimore 5, the Rams at 6, Cleveland 7, Titans 8, Seattle 9, and Indy 10. Any teams stick out to you in that group, or anybody that should have been up there you didn't see?
Yeah, I mean, Tampa being 2 is funny. I mean, I'm the most Homer biased Brady fan, but they brought the entire team back.
Yeah,
I mean, they had some pretty savage injuries this year too, as did KC. To me, that's the number 1 team. But KC has Mahomes, so 1, 2, that's fine. Green Bay 3, I mean, regular season, that's cute.
Yeah.
Do you want Rodgers in a playoff game if it matters?
Yeah.
Like, I'm all set with it. I'll be honest with you. I'm all set with Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees. If it's a playoff game that matters that I need to win, they don't traditionally do it. I think Buffalo's a much stronger team than Green Bay. The Rams are weird. Stafford finally has a little talent around him, so. Yeah, the rest of the list. Seattle's low, too. I mean, you got Russell Wilson. It's a quarterback league.
Yeah, Seattle below the Titans. Indy probably has the biggest I think they can move the most if Wentz plays well. If Wentz plays
they could be 2 or 30, right? I mean, Wentz.
Yeah, exactly. They can be 2 or 30, exactly. They're the most variance for sure. The Titans, I feel like the wheels are starting to fall off of that a little bit. We'll see. I mean, if Henry can still
my hometown team. What are we talking about here?
Oh, sorry, Nashville. How long is Tannehill going to get it done? Like in terms, he's been great. Tannehill's been great. I like Vrabel as a coach. I think they've put it together. I'm just wondering that they lost Corey Davis. Their defense kind of got worse last year. I'm just wondering when they're going to be able to. Are they going up or down? That's the question. Are they going up or down?
I mean, honestly, in the AFC, them against Cleveland, pretty similar. I mean, Baker had a nice year. Buffalo, to me, Buffalo and Kansas City is the class of the league. I think Buffalo is probably the second best team in the AFC.
Yep.
And they're returning everybody. After that, though, I think it's wide open. Baltimore, Cleveland, if Miami takes a small step up, if Indy does, if the Titans do, to me, that is, okay, who's the third best team in the AFC?
Right.
The division's not crazy. I mean, could be strong, but may not be. Houston's a dumpster fire. Jacksonville, is not going to win. And then Indy is maybe a good team. So is a good team, but maybe has a quarterback.
Right.
So they're in a weaker division. I mean, that for that reason alone, I feel like they probably win more games than Baltimore. But to me, it's not. It's still just KC and Buffalo, and then everybody else.
No, I'll agree with that. That's good. And the NFC West will be fun to watch again because you got the Rams and Seattle in the top 10, the Cards and 49ers right there. I think all those teams are kind of slowly adding pieces. Looks like Wilson's not going anywhere, even though there's some weird stuff about him given options. But
man, if he went to New Orleans, what a weird team that becomes. Jeez.
Yeah, New Orleans or Chicago would have been pretty interesting. But
Chicago, I struggle with. Who isn't that the same situation he's at now? No talent around him.
I think Allen Robinson offensively. I think Allen Robinson's good. David Montgomery came on. I still don't know how good he is.
So Robinson or Metcalf?
Yeah, definitely Metcalf for sure. Yeah, I mean you're right. Like in terms of, I think it's more the O line the issue in Seattle too, right? But Chicago's O line, Chicago's O line was pieced together, but they weren't awesome either. So you're right. It wasn't much better of a situation for sure.
And then they were going to have to give up 5 first-round picks or something. Yeah. I mean, to get Wilson, the fact that who got traded for a bunch of picks, Goff and Stafford. That trade. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you have to give for Wilson, but you better have the rest of the team in place because you don't have any draft capital left. So
yeah, and that's what I saw with the Stafford trades. I saw, well, this means Watson's not getting traded because there's no way you can afford Watson.
How do you afford him? Yeah, well, then Deshaun does what he does, maybe. So maybe you can afford him now.
Yeah, maybe you can. I know.
Wilson, though, to me, stay put or go to New Orleans. He goes to New Orleans. That's a Super Bowl favorite team, or right there with Tampa.
Absolutely, Sean Payton's one of the best for sure. And speaking of New Orleans, let's do buy and sell here, Mike. Just two guys. We talked about Manning already, but compare him to Drew Brees. So Drew Brees tops PSA 10 rookie 1,400. Peyton Manning 1998 tops 360 is 1,551, as we said. Who do you like there?
So the only thing I don't know what the pop count is on Drew Brees. I'd be curious. I mean, if it's close. Then to me, Manning deserves a little bit. I mean, all time, I think Manning's a better quarterback than Brees is. So if the pop is close, I go Manning. If Brees is slightly lower, maybe it's close. We're also seeing Brees at an all-time high with the retirement news. The last couple of weeks, he's been super high. So I would be more inclined. I think Brees drops more because the nostalgia wears off, whereas Manning has the Hall of Fame bump. So to me, I'd go with Peyton out of the two of those.
I think so too. I think they're both, cards I hope to own at some point. I think there's fun guys to own. Like if you've watched the game for the time period that you and I have, both extremely talented guys, good fantasy football quarterbacks for sure. Two. So we'll go to the 2020 guys: Tua at 400 or Burrow at 650. So I guess I know your answer for this one.
Cover your ears. Give me Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you have Tua. I think Burrow's next level talent. I think he's going to explode. So
yeah, no, I'm with you. Actually, I'm with Burrow over Tua. I think Tua has a chance to I think Tua has a better pieces around. Man, if Burrow's on Miami, we'd be in business. But I think that Burrow is definitely a better quarterback. I would be worried about being in Cincinnati. We know how Cincinnati works out for people. Tends to not be well. That's the only downside, and hopefully that's not an issue for Lawrence being in Jacksonville. But I would take Burrow there at 650. I think 650 is pretty cheap. He's almost half of what Herbert is, and I think he's just as talented. So
agreed.
All right, get off the quarterbacks a little bit. Hopkins, 2013 Prism PSA 10, 225, or Tyreek Hill, 2016 Prism PSA 10 for 300. Just so you probably know this, but Mike Thomas. When I started the show beginning of last season was going for 350 for the high end of a receiver. So the high end of a receiver can be around a 350 range. It's just so you know. Who do you like there?
So you're saying the Michael Thomas Prism hit 350?
Yeah, it was about 350 to start of the season.
Okay, because the only other guy I've seen higher than that was Metcalf. Week 6 or something. Started hitting $500, but then super. To me, though, I don't know. How much hype is there on Hopkins? He's as good as anybody in the league, but, I mean, does anybody care about him?
I think that's true. I think that Hopkins is often overlooked. He doesn't really have that. He doesn't carry the limelight. Yeah, he doesn't carry the limelight. He didn't in Houston either, and he'd be the second or third best receiver in the league, but we talking about the fourth and fifth guy,
Yeah, so, I mean, even now, if you just ask people who would you rather have on your team, people would say Tyreek Hill, which is laughable. Tyreek Hill is nowhere near the receiver Hopkins is. He's an unbelievable speed guy, but then you look at Tyreek Hill, so you're talking a 35% more, you get the most explosive receiver who has the spotlight, who's going to be going back to a Super Bowl year after year with Mahomes and playing with the next phenom in the league. Just for hype alone, if I'm starting a team, I'll take Hopkins all day. In terms of card value, the fact that they're that close, I'd take Tyreek Hill.
I would take Tyreek as well, just on longevity and the pairing. Like, I think Kyler Murray's good. I mean, I think we'll see. He's got one more. He had a down year-ish, getting injured and whatnot.
Yep.
But I think for me, Tyreek as well. For Nick Chubb, his Prism PSA 10 is 173, and then Zeke's is 190 for 2016. So Zeke's come down quite a bit. Zeke was in the 300 range to start the season. Obviously, for a good reason, it come down quite a bit. He had a terrible year, but the whole team did. Thoughts on Chubb versus Zeke there?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much a wash on price. If Chubb was much cheaper, I'd take him. But for the same money, Nick Chubb is at his high, Zeke is at his low, and they're still the same.
Right.
Again, Zeke plays in Dallas. Dak's coming back. That division is crap. I think Dallas probably wins a bunch of games. Cleveland may repeat, but I don't know. And again, this is already the height of Nick. Is Chubb going to do what he did last year again? It's a pretty tough act to follow. Dude had an unbelievable season statistically, and the team won games.
Right.
To me, Zeke is going up. Chubb probably levels off and comes down. So I'd go with Zeke. I'm surprised it's that close, though, honestly. That's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, that's why I put it on there. That was surprisingly close as well. There's two trains of thought here. I am a Cowboys fan, so I'll throw that out there now.
For God's sake.
I know.
I'm glad you waited to say that till now.
I know we're getting farther apart. I know you probably won't be back on, will you? I think you should feel bad for me. It's a tough gig. But anyway,
I feel bad for you. I was a Bills fan growing up. You have no sympathy for me.
Okay,
I'm still bitter.
Nick Chubb, I think he is underrated in terms of talent. He is at the running back position, but he has had some injury issues, obviously, and I think that he was nicked up last year a little bit as well. Came back strong, still had great statistics when he was in. Cleveland is built around play action and run the football, so they are building around him, but there is Hunt there as well. So that's kind of like the twofold when it comes to Chubb. I think you are right; he has it as high, but I kind of see Chubb being a pretty consistent running back for the next few years. Zeke, I'm really concerned as a Cowboys fan. Is he past the peak? Now, Dak was gone. Or the O-line is in shambles. The O-line is no longer a strength of Dallas. And so what are we going to see from Zeke? He doesn't really have breakaway speed anymore. Like, where are we going with Zeke? So I am concerned with him, but I do think he's at a low. So for me, it's kind of like I actually maybe take Chubb because I think he might hold better. But Zeke, I'm not seeing Zeke get back to where he was in the 300 anytime soon, unless the Cowboys do win some games, which I'm not holding my breath for that either.
Yeah, I think a lot of that too depends. Like, what does Dak do? Is Dak back and playing well, or is he, and maybe they bring Larry Allen back. Let's spice that lineup a little bit.
Yeah, Larry Allen back, get Jay Novacek
46 reps on the bench press for Larry Allen. I think that's still a record. I remember watching that video. I was like, this dude's insane. Bring him back.
Yeah, he's incredible. So with that, we switch just a little hobby focus, just a general conversation around things around the hobby, like listening to your show here. You talk about these things. So you guys definitely check out Mike's Sports Cards Nonsense podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Pretty easy to find. You have the YouTube as well with it. Is that right?
Yeah, so the Ringer runs everything. Everything's under the Ringer channel on YouTube. So just Sports Cards Nonsense there. And then, it's powered by Spotify, but it's available everywhere, not exclusive. So
perfect. Yep. Awesome. So how are the backlogs grading affect the market? So we talked about the backlogs affecting decisions in terms of, I'm not going to grade this. I'm going to do more flips and sells raw. How do you think it's going to affect the market in your mind? And kind of twofold to that can be in terms of the decision of selling more raw, and when they do catch up, what's the market going to look like?
Yeah, so raw will take a small bump. It has already taken a little bit of a bump in a good way. I mean, obviously people are now buying with the intent of I'm going to buy it raw, sell it raw. So more demand there. So you see prices have increased a little bit, especially with new products. 2021 Topps is something people were only ripping in the past. Series 1 Topps is something you rip just to send everything off. Not doing that as much this year. So I think raw stuff has had a little bit more of a premium. In terms of the hobby itself, it's been great. I mean, if everything just came out all at once and they had no backlog, there would be so much supply. Yes, the demand's high, but that would be rough. I think the whole market would take a big hit from that. But I don't have any issue with how things will come out. So for some reason, it's like it took 2 years to get this 7 million to 8 million card backlog. But it's like skeptics are like, well, yeah, but all of a sudden the floodgate's going to open. They're not grading that much more than they were years ago. We had Steve Sloan, the president, on a couple weeks ago. They've increased production, but they've increased their staff by 2 to 3 times. They've had 40 times the amount of cards come in. It's not like all of a sudden everything's just going to come out. So I don't really worry too much about the flood aspect, at least not in the near future.
Yep, that sounds good. Yeah, I think I know it's the football show, but in terms of baseball, I think 2021 Topps, the bases also seemed abundant compared to like Series 1 usually is pretty abundant, but I think that having that much more made it less likely to send as well when it comes to that. And I think that when it comes to Prism, when it comes to the different shorter printed sapphires, different like that, those things are going to be easier to send and weight because you're going to be in better shape. Just that quick little grade base and sell is kind of becoming a little bit more non-real, like not realistic when it comes to major products.
Yeah, because like otherwise, like again, normal prospecting year, like there's 8 to 10 guys in Series 1, you would have sent 80 to 100 cards in from one case. Absolutely. All the Joe Adell, Madrigal, all even the second tier guys, Bobby Dahlbeck, every one of those would have got sent in the past.
Yep.
Now I don't know how much that you send in.
Yeah, and there's not really a sure thing in there either. Like
no, they definitely got stricter on grading too. So
yeah, and then I felt like Bo Bichette was kind of a sure thing last year in Series 1. Felt pretty good about Jordan. But there's like in this year's Series 1,
Odell
looked pretty bad last year. Carlson didn't
just got sent down. Yep,
yeah,
Carlson.
A lot of those guys. There's a lot of question marks in this year's class too, so that also feeds into it. But anyway,
sure.
Do you think we'll ever hit the junk wax era number 2? Do you think we'll ever hit that again, or that was just the 90s thing?
Yeah, I don't. To me, this isn't a thing to me. I just feel like the international market is so strong. Yep. We get messages to the show all the time. In Asia, they can't get sealed product like they want. Australia can't get sealed product. I think we see more production ramped up because the buying space is just so much bigger than it's ever. I just think there's so much more demand there than supply. We're not even close to. I don't think we're close to a junk wax.
Even if we are, you just have to change how you collect. It just makes maybe the base isn't as good, but there's so much color and so much variations in the cards now that to me we're protected as a collectors, because then you just say, okay, take my 5 base Herberts, I'm gonna get a pink.
As opposed to 89, it was like, hey, we're just gonna make 8 million of the same Griffey card, and it's the same exact. Now variations, you want to get away from base. There's plenty of ways to get away from stuff. Yep, right. I agree.
So, there might be 8 million Zions, but there's across 70 different colors.
Right. Exactly. So you have your choice.
Exactly. You got to pick and choose for sure. I'm with you as well. How do you see football long-term in the market? Football to me has always been interesting. Football is my passion. I played it, coached it. I love the draft, all those things about it. That's why I have this show. I always feel like it's interesting because football is the heaviest fantasy. It's the heaviest watched. But in terms of the hobby, it's quarterbacks or bust. And so what do you think the football market's future looks like? I think next year we talked about super strong, but how do you feel about the football market?
Yeah, football, again, this is the most we've ever seen spend in football, just across the board. But so long term, I think there's still room for growth. Again, I think vintage football, real vintage football, 70s and before, still has a ton of room to grow. I mean, Walter Payton, Jim Brown, Bradshaw, Staubach, all those guys, Unitas and Bart Starr, crazy cheap compared to greats from that generation of other sports. Yeah. The new stuff, I think the new stuff in 5 years takes a hit just like everything else does. It's never reached the peak the basketball is, and it never will. I mean, the basketball market is so international. Football is an American thing. You only have so many buyers here, period. Yeah. And it's not something that's becoming international. Even Brady is indicative of that. Brady is the Jordan of his generation, doesn't come anywhere near Jordan prices.
Right. I think that's one. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was just going to nope, you go. I'm done.
I would say the one thing I think collectors forget about, because we are in the U.S., is football is a U.S. like born and bred and breathed here. This is our thing. And so you're right. The basketball market is massive. The reason soccer is massive is because the international market, like all those reasons that we don't think about. And baseball is international as well. Football is really the only one is just here. And I think that does limit its upside, but I do think that it has room to growth was all my point. But go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think there is room to grow. I mean, we're going to see growth this year with Trevor Lawrence. I think this is the first year people are going to look and say, hey, I can legit pull a 5-figure football card out of a new product. I mean, Zion showed us that was possible last year, and all of a sudden it was next level. Jason Dominguez in baseball. We haven't had that one guy here. Burrow was kind of the guy, Herbert, ish. Yeah. But, I think next year Trevor Lawrence, all of a sudden, if he pans out, that's kind of the thing that sets that market to take the next jump like it could.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, that's kind of covers the football stuff. I always have some fun questions to wrap up since you haven't had you on before. Again, appreciate you being on, Mike.
Yeah, thanks.
What's you're in Nashville then? So I actually lived in Lexington for a little bit. I went to a Titans game, so I've been in that area. Good food down there. What's kind of one of your go-to food spots?
I'm a barbecue guy now. I never was, but man, I love Nashville. Yeah, anything barbecue. Martin's Barbecue, Edley's. Those are my two spots here.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I think when I was Lexington, one of my spots, I didn't go barbecue as much. I should have, but I think like Firehouse subs, like sandwiches, like definitely that's kind of what I like to hit up for sure.
Okay.
Down in that area. How about your go-to adult beverage?
Diet Coke.
There you go. Diet Coke. You're just a safe man.
Yep. An old man.
I'm more of an IPA guy, but Dr. Pepper, if we're talking about guilty pleasures, is kind of mine.
Gotcha.
What's your favorite sport to watch and follow?
I'm a football. Yeah, football.
Yeah.
Bucks. I mean, last year I watched every Bucks game, all with Brady. I've just watched it, followed it. I follow baseball the most for the research side for work. I mean, the prospect market's still crazy, and I follow basketball a lot. Just because, again, more work related. But if I just had an option to sit and watch a game, no question, football and then basketball. I can't watch a whole baseball game. Baseball's brutal. Oh my God.
It's a background sport. It's a background sport. And then check the stats after.
Exactly. Yep.
Since you're the Boston guy, like we need to talk about what's your take on New England's kind of direction? Like, what are you thinking it's going to be for them?
I hope they get Jimmy G, and I hope he can stay healthy. That's about the only hope there. I mean, that defense isn't what it was. It's always funny too to me. Like Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. To me, I think it's pretty unanimous. But the whole thing about you being a jerk to the media, it's cute when you're winning Super Bowls every other year. It's funny the amount of media hate he got last year. Because it's like, if you don't win games, you have to be nice and talk to the media. You can't do this, pull this stunt.
This is really you.
Yeah, I mean, the offense. Receivers, I don't know who you're throwing the ball to. Cam Newton can't throw the ball anyway, so maybe that works out well.
Yeah.
I don't know. If that team wins 8 games, if they don't make a major move at quarterback, if they brought in Garoppolo, I think they could win 8 to 10 games without a major upgrade at quarterback, which I don't know that he would be. I just don't. Yeah, it's a weird spot. They dropped off quick, no question.
I think they could probably get Garoppolo pretty cheap because of that contract. They might even get something to take him because of that contract. So it might not be as difficult as people think. It could be very simple, especially if New England kind of waits and see if anybody falls or if they can reach for a guy they like in the draft and they don't get him. They could say, okay, we'll give you our third to take that massive, contract or something, or might get a third. So
if you could, like I said, if you could get Garoppolo, Bill is huge on Jimmy back when he was here. So maybe again, the team is not that great without him, even with him, but it's at least interesting.
Yeah, for sure. One thing from the hobby right now you wish you could eliminate.
One thing I wish I could eliminate. I was trying to think about this question last night. I read this one. I don't know. I'm actually pretty cool. I hate to be. I like to be negative too. I just, like the whining. I guess I will say this. The one thing I wish we'd get rid of is bubble talk. I mean, you're a numbers guy. You're much smarter in that field than I am. I have some business people I work with now. My struggle is, for example, here, actually, I'll make it simple. Get rid of the word bubble. Okay. I'm so sick of that word. Yeah. Every market in any field is a bubble. What stage of the bubble are we in? I don't know. But this thought that everybody's an economist now and this field is a bubble, why? Maybe the field's just expanded because people are making money and there's a ton of new people here. Is it at an all-time high? Sure. You have to be. And I don't tell anybody. There's a lot of these idiots with podcasts and shows now in the sports card field that tell you just come in and buy. Everybody's making money. That's stupid. But if you're dumb enough to listen and follow that, I don't have any sympathy for you. Yeah. But this thought that just, everything's a bubble, it's all going to fall, that's fine. And if you want to be ultra conservative, you can be. You're missing opportunities, I would say. So I do get the bubble thing because I'm just like, no one knows. No one has any clue what the market is in 5 years. No one actually understands what a bubble is anyways, least of all me. I sell baseball cards for a living. Like, I'm not going to give economic lessons, but that's the one thing. It's like people have become these bubble experts because they saw some idiot say it once on ESPN. Right.
I would probably just say, like, I know flipping's part of a hot market. I know that, people clearing shelves and selling for 3 or 4x is just part of it. I hate it. Yep. I think I can accept it. But when we get to bots and we get to things clearing out online stores that people can't even put their information in and buy a product they want to get, I have a problem with it. Like, to me, that just the bot game is just frustrating because not everybody is flipping. Like, I typically open, like, whatever. I'm not trying to do like I'm an elitist hobbyist person, but I just think that it's just weird to me that like the bot game is just weird. Yeah.
I do hate the retail. So I've always said this. I can respect it. If you're going to get up and wait at Walmart 6 a.m. and sit outside, I can appreciate the hustle. I hate the end game. Like I hate that people can. But then we got some messages last night, and some guys sent us some video. We have some just guys who help us with show content. So starting now, and I guess this was the pilot program in San Francisco or San Jose, some major California city. At Target now, you get on a queue, you wait in line, you go, and you're allowed to pick one box, and that's it.
Yeah.
I would love to see that happen because I do think it'd be cool if kids and young guys could go into Walmart, Target, and buy one.
Yeah.
But that's a store thing. Like you gotta, if you're gonna do that, just you have to put regulations on it. I'm all for that. In the meantime, if a dude's gonna go crazy and hustle like that to get, I have trouble finding too much fault. But if that could change, it'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure. And last question is like, I know you stepped away from breaking. As you said, you kind of sold your page, which was a really successful page in terms of what you did in terms of breaking and just being part of the hobby. Do you miss that part? I know you still do it a little bit, maybe to feed the fire, but how do you feel about it?
I don't miss breaking. Yeah, the question, do you miss breaking as much as you did? No chance. Every once in a while, I do miss breaking. I'm like, hey, I want a day, so I'll break for a day. But like the, get up at 9 to list breaks, break all day, sort, ship, say hello to my wife quick, and come to bed at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Like I'm good. The 18-hour day, it's a young man's game, dude.
You're definitely a grinder. I think that some people don't have the right perception on like what the full-time breakers do like you did, because not even, you do the breaks for hours and then you have to sort if you don't have a sorting team, which, a lot of times the smaller groups don't. And so
we had 2 guys. But I did as much as and then you got to deal with stupid questions, which is part of it comes with the territory, so it's fine. But you got to respond. I mean, you have to. And the nice thing is, like Eddie runs it. My intent was always just to sell the business and walk away. And then we kind of, from the first phone call, we started talking business. It was like, hey, this dude could take over Geo Breaks and do it. So I still own 20%. I'm just technically listed as a consultant. But he's cool. He gives me free reign to go live and go crazy and do whatever I want on there and break once in a while. So it's a perfect situation. And he's doing more now than we ever did. So yeah, pretty cool.
He is busy. Awesome. Well, hey, Mike, thanks for being on the show with me, man. Talking some football. I really appreciate you being here. I look forward to catching up with you in the future. So
here's the deal. If Jonathan Taylor Thomas doesn't go for 2,000, we're going live again. Me and you're shaving the beard. Is that what you're telling me?
If I can get clearance from the wife, you got it.
Oh yeah, never mind. I'm not even. No chance. Wouldn't even get involved. Good. I appreciate you having me, Tyson. This was fun, man. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Have a good day.
All right, see ya.